So we are recording. Everyone be on your best behavior now, including me. Oh, we just had somebody come in here. Hold on. Oh, no. There we go. David. David and Karen are coming in. My God, and Boost. Okay. Everybody's coming in right now. Excuse me. Okay. Um, so all in all, kind of we're just gonna kind of give you guys a quick synopsis of what we're in for, right? This is going to just be basically take us day by day through the trip, what we're going to do, what we're going to see. We'll try to talk about optional tours, drink packages, the whole 9 yards, how to sign up, all that good stuff. But basically, when you boil it down, the trip is essentially 10 days or 8 nights in Greece. So, and then what it is you essentially have 4 nights in Athens. They're kind of spread out. You have 3 nights on the beginning. Then we have a 4 night cruise, and then another night in Athens before we fly home. So that's going to kind of come through. So just the tour itself includes airfare from Des Moines all the way over. Of course, we are not on a nonstop, but once we get there, you are going to be in very very nice hotels, and this is really the only hotel you're going to be in while you're in Athens. The other 4 nights we're going to be on the cruise ship. uh it's either the Amelia Hotel or the Athens Marriott. Both are rating at around four. Like, they're both claiming to be 5 star. They're both very nice. I think Google rates them at like 4.5 or 4.6 stars, something like that. But anyway, very nice hotels, good rooms, good locations, uh, good kind of lobby restaurants. Um, I mean, they're good. Excuse me, the Amelia and the Marriott. The Amelia actually is closer to the Parthenon than the Marriott. I mean, it's right there. So, but both are in really good, good locations. What's essentially going to happen is when we fly from Des Moines, we're going to land in Athens, and you're going to be met by your tour manager. They're going to meet you there at the airport, and they're going to have a sign when you come through the baggage claim area. They're going to be looking for folks that have our little name tags on, and you're going to be looking for somebody that says Edelman Discovery sign over their head. And essentially, a bus is going to be waiting outside for you. We're going to take you. The airport is about 50 minutes or so outside the city, and so it's a little bit of a drive in. So we drive into the city, and then we have basically that day to just relax, get comfortable, get situated. My only suggestion is it's going to be very inviting to go lay down on your bed, but don't do it. You want to stay up as long as you can. It will really help you with jet lag kind of moving forward. Um, but the touring is going to start that next day. So when you get in, really our full day of touring is going to start, and it's going to be on a it would be we're going to it would be on a Saturday. We're going to wake up Saturday morning and head out. And really, we aren't heading far because your hotels are so centrally located. You're right in the middle of all the good stuff. And you've got when they kind of take you around the city before you go to the Parthenon, you'll go to like the Temple of Zeus, which is down more in the kind of the it's not by the Acropolis. You'll see the changing of the guard. You'll see Constitution Square, their Parliament building. But really, I mean, let's face it. We go for Athens is known for the Parthenon, and the Acropolis, and the tour takes us there. We go all the way to the top. Um, my first experience, this was just kind of cool. For those of us that have been here, you probably have already know about this, but there's this Roman theater that was built, um, you know, several hundred years, many hundred years after the Parthenon was built. But there was this Roman theater built right kind of at the foot of the Acropolis. And as your tour takes you up the side of the mountain, this is what you see at street level. And then as you start to walk up, you can look down into this theater, and they still do like comedies, they have concerts, still to this day in this theater. I mean, it's incredible. And anyway, we're gonna literally just walk right kind of on the back side of this, because this takes us right to the Parthenon. And the Parthenon, I mean, there's so many cool things about it, but I mean, just the fact that it was built without the use of any slave labor. It was all constructed by citizens, which is kind of in ancient times really saying something. They, the I say town, the city as a whole really wanted this done, and you can go through it and see. I mean, all of the it's incredible the scale that it was built on. This was my first time there, but what was amazing, and the reason why I wanted to throw this in here, was because all of these blocks behind me are all numbered, and they're all like they're all this, like the archaeologists, they know where these different blocks are supposed to go, and they're slowly putting it all back together. It's pretty incredible. And we're going to be, again, the tour of the Acropolis takes us through the Parthenon. Now, I shouldn't say that. We don't get to walk inside and through the Parthenon. We'll walk around the Parthenon. We do get to walk through, if you want. This is the Temple of Athena. This is, call it, next door to the Parthenon. It is on the Acropolis. And if you want, you can go into this temple. This temple you can walk through. It's very small. It's, to be honest, this is the coolest part about it. The lady pillars. But whereas the Acropolis, we can't walk through. We can only walk around. But all this is done with your tour guide. Your tour guide is kind of narrating the experience as you're kind of seeing all of these different things, whether it's by foot or by bus. And if you are by foot, everyone has a little earbuds, and your tour guide is talking into kind of the little wireless mics like they do. And the nice thing about that is you can kind of spread out and you can hear your tour guide just fine. And you don't have to be 2 feet away. So it's nice. But the whole complex there, just at night, it's really incredible. But really, that day, that Saturday, that tour of Athens, I think it's a really good mix, because it ends in the kind of early, no, mid-afternoon, I'd say. Um, Probably somewhere around 2 o'clock or so. And then you're going to have the rest of that afternoon to do, what you want. There is a dinner that evening. It's fun. It's in the Plaka, which is kind of just right down the road from I say right down the road, like literally right down the hill from the Acropolis. It's one of the oldest, call it, neighborhoods in Athens. And we'll have dinner there. And it's kind of cool. They bring in, entertainment. People are dancing and singing, and I mean, it's pretty wild. I think I said this last time, but these guys they were dancing and doing this thing where they were kicking their legs over their heads. Like, I was like, okay, there's no way I could ever even attempt that. So, I mean, you have to give them their props. And it was really, honestly, a lot of fun. Good food, ouzo was flowing, and it was, anyway, entertainment kind of throughout the night. But the next day, basically on Sunday, we have a choice. And you can either take an optional tour to Delphi, and we'll leave in the morning, and we'll get back that late that afternoon. And Delphi, I mean, it's fantastic. If you don't go to Delphi, you're essentially going to have a free day in Athens, so to speak. A day, you're going to be on your own. You leave your hotel, you walk around, you do your own thing. It's all good. Um, but if you want a day, Delphi is, to give you an idea, about maybe 2.5 hours or so from Athens. Okay, it's up in the hills. Athens, or excuse me, Delphi is about 2.5 hours from Athens. Delphi it was like the oracle's, well, it was the oracle's home, and kings of the city states around Greece, whether it be Athens or Mycenae or Sparta, they would come to Delphi to consult with the oracles of Delphi. This is the top picture is what the Athens treasury would have looked like in Delphi in its heyday. Below is the Athens treasury today in Delphi. And this is the ancient city. And 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 it takes you the tour takes you up and around, um up and around the city. I mean, it's really incredible. These are temples to Apollo. You can see the topography, you can see where you are. You're high in the mountains. Um and the hill and the town, I say town, the village, Delphi itself is kind of built on the side of the mountain. It's if again, if you choose to go to Delphi, it'll be a visit to the ancient city, and we'll also visit. There's a museum that's just next door. It's kind of part of the tour, and we'll visit that as well. So a lot of some of the originals that you see in Delphi are actually in the museum, and there's replicas that you see, out in the elements. But again, if you don't go to Delphi, you'll have a free day in Athens. We'll wake up that next morning after breakfast, and we're going to head to the port. We're going to board the Celestial Discovery. And this is going to be our home for the next basically 4 nights. This ship, it's a well, there's balconies, there's a few suites, there's outside, inside cabins. The thing that I want to think, or that I think we need to really kind of consider is, and we'll talk about the ship and all their packages in just a minute, but the ship should really, I think, be viewed more as a tool to get around, because when you look at the time that we're spending on the ship is fairly limited. We're using it to get to these different places that we're going to, and the most of our time is going to be spent on location. It's a very port-rich itinerary. Um, we leave Piraeus, which is a port city for Athens, and immediately we sail for Mykonos. Mykonos will stop that evening, and there's an optional, tour with a dinner there in Mykonos. And if you want, you can also have free time. Just get off the ship and explore Mykonos on your own. The next day is when we go to Turkey. But Mykonos, when you're there, don't sell it short. I mean, I've done the tour, and I also just my brother and we just kind of walked around and had dinner at a local restaurant and had some beers in a local pub, and it was great. We it was fantastic. So it really just kind of depends on what you're looking for. If you want to really just kind of, Mykonos is very easy to walk around. I mean, very easy. Really, you can't get lost. It's pretty easy in that sense as well. So, if you do want to have free time in Mykonos, don't be intimidated. It would be easy to do. Just these little narrow streets and narrow walkways. This is the bay here. Um, there's restaurants and little pubs and things all along the bay, and then on the back side as well. where you'll get the waves kind of coming in, so you get that sound as well in kind of a different environment. It's it's really a good way to kind of kick off the cruise. The next day, the ship I think leaves Mykonos. I want to say at around midnight, maybe 11 p.m., something like that, but it leaves really late, and then sails to Turkey. And then when we wake up, we're going to wake up in the port city of Kusadasi. And that we're going to wake up there, and that tour is going to take us basically to Ephesus and to a Turkish, I'll call it like Turkish rug, where you can kind of see the how it's made and all of that whole thing. But for me, I love history, and we're going to spend basically most of the morning in Ephesus. This is the Library of Celsius here. Well, this is it. You know, in when we hear about it in the Bible, this was a port city. You know, it was right on the water. Well, now it's because of the river, the sediment, it's kind of pushed out the land. So it's now about a 20-minute drive or so from the port to Ephesus, and by bus. And then you'll come in, and then you'll walk down their main thoroughfare to there. You'll have the Library of Celsius here, and you have their amphitheater to the right. And it's amazing. You'll learn all about their culture, what they were doing. I mean, they had hot and cold water. They had toilets with sanitation uh, and drinking water separated. It was, I mean, they were doing really well for themselves. This is kind of a public toilet. Obviously, you got to picture it with, it had a big roof at the time, and you know there was more going on. But it was interesting. Their pipes, and they'll show you that, but they were actually made out of clay and put together to form, you know, and it was just, and they would just make it as long as they needed. And anyway, it was just for me kind of fascinating. But again, the Library of Celsius. What was interesting for me too is when we were there, we were talking about just how large it was. You know, like gosh, how large was Ephesus in its prime? And a good way the archaeologists, I guess, measure that is by the amphitheaters, and they I guess, figure that the amphitheaters were typically built to hold anywhere from 15 to kind of 10% of the city's total population. And this amphitheater here holds about 20,000 people. So they figure, you know, a little more, give or take, you know, 200,000, maybe a little more, 100,000 people or so is what Ephesus was, say, when John lived there, you know, when John got kicked out and all that kind of stuff. And, but it's just fascinating. The tour takes you through here as well. And then we get back on the ship in Turkey and we sail for Patmos. And this is where the Romans, they basically sent John to die. They like sent him to exile, and and they sent him here to Patmos. And basically, you know, I mean, it's hard to draw parallels because we're going to be cruising there in a nice ship, eating a nice lunch, you know, and then when we arrive in Patmos, we're going to have you either have some free tour or excuse me, some free time in Patmos, or there's an optional tour that you can take that takes you up to the castle here that basically sits on top of the cave that John lived at where he wrote Revelations. And they call it the grotto now. But um, you know, you got to figure you can see these bricks here, and you know, all of this obviously wasn't here. Here's the cave. You walk down, there's probably, I don't know, it's been a while. If I remember right, maybe 30 or 40 steps kind of down and then back up. Uh, but they take you down in there, and that's part of the tour. And then, of course, through the monastery as well. Um, Beautiful frescoes. in the monastery. And again, this is we're going to be in Patmos basically for we're going to get in late that afternoon and stay through the remainder of that evening. And the tour itself of this is about 3 hours or so. So there's theoretically time to see this and to have some free time in Patmos to maybe wander around and go by a souvenir shop or whatever, just kind of cruise around the island. You can do that too. Or, hey, if you just want free time, get off the boat, go at your own leisure. You're free to do so. Kind of from the top of the monastery there, but really cool view of the Aegean. Anyway, um, so we're there that evening, right? And basically that day, but before we start talking about roads, that day we're in Turkey, we're in Ephesus, and we're in Patmos in that one day. And then the next day, we've sailed overnight now, and we've woken up, and now we're in Rhodes. And we're going to be in Rhodes all day. There's an included tour that takes us out to Lindos, and but we're going to be in Rhodes all day. So again, if you want, there's going to be time to see both, and we can talk about a bunch of stuff because Rhodes has a lot to offer. Um, that well, here, let me back up. This big wall here, this big medieval wall, your ship is going to be docked about maybe 300 or 400 feet from this big medieval wall. You'll be able to walk in and off the ship if you want. Theoretically, you could go back onto the ship if you wanted to for lunch, let's say, and then disembark the ship again, you know, um, to continue on. But it's right within walking distance, and that's what's so cool. You come in and instantly you see this is the famous, it's called like the Knights Boulevard, basically. This was kind of for all of the Crusaders that were taking the sea route to the Holy Lands. Rhodes was one of the islands that the Christians would come to congregate, gather supplies, forces, and then leave again. And oftentimes it was from here to or from there to either Acre or straight into straight onto the mainland. But this was all you're going to learn about all this. It's really fascinating, and this is all about roads. And you kind of have a good mixture because you have outside the city walls, the old city walls, and then you have inside the city walls. And you can see this is obviously outside. But the optional tour that's really it's included takes you over to Lindos, and this tour it's the well it takes you it overlooks St. Paul's Bay. This is Lindos, the Acropolis of Lindos, and it's on the southern tip of the island, where your ship is docked on the northern tip of the island. So there's about a 30-minute bus ride or so that's involved. But still, great day, lots of fun. And Lindos is basically we're going to be in Rhodes. You got to think of this all day. For those of you that Rhodes, there was the it was one of the seven wonders of the world, right, of the ancient world, and it was the Colossus of Rhodes. And it was this large statue that straddled a harbor in Greece. Well, this is the island where that statue was. Where your ship is docked is not in the old ancient harbor. Okay, you're in the new harbor. It's about a 15-minute walk from where your ship is or thereabouts to if you want to go to the ancient harbor and see where the ancient Colossus once stood. So that's part of, you're going to have free time to do that, but that's part of the kind of the allure of Rhodes as well. Um, but moving on, Rhodes all day, and then we leave at night, and we're going to sail overnight to Santorini. Okay. And this is fantastic because we're going to have all day in Santorini. I think we disembark the ship, or we start disembarking the ship around 7 a.m. And there are some optional tours that you can choose to do, or you don't have to do any of them. Okay. And we'll kind of talk about those as best I can. But our time in Santorini, this is a picture of Ia. Basically, it's OIA, and the O silent. Um, but I think this would be better because this gives us kind of a better, I think, illustration. This is actually the island of Santorini. Here's the big volcano. Here's Thera, or Fira rather. Here's Ia, and then you've got, I don't know exactly where the on this map anyway, where the Ercolani site is, but essentially you have a few choices. The famous Ia is the famous uh it's like $117 or so, and it's a optional tour that basically takes you for half the day. You're going to have a tour of yeah. The reason why people go here, obviously it's beautiful, but this has the and everybody's seen this picture, I'm sure, of the blue domes with the church. There's blue domes all over Santorini, but there's a very famous one that's here. And so part of that tour takes you so you can get the perfect shot and all of that, right? But we're going to have, so you have an optional tour of that. You also have, there's an optional tour, and it's again the same thing, about 117 bucks. And you're going to get all this information. uh I'm kind of jumping the gun here, but uh marketing hasn't had a chance to create all this stuff. So you'll be getting it from us, but I'm giving you this now as well, because gosh, if I were you, I would want it. And they gave me it. So this here is the second optional tour, is to the volcano. So this is a boat ride that takes us off of the main island, and you can see, if you can see my cursor here, this is the island. This is the town of Fira, and the boat brings you in, and you take on a hike, and you learn all about this huge volcano, basically, that erupted and caused the island to the reason why the island shaped like it is because of this caldera that you're on, and you're going to learn all about that. It's pretty fascinating. And then the last one is, and this is what I'm not sure exactly where in relation to that island picture that I showed you, where this is. Um, but this is around $120, and again, a half day tour. And this takes us basically through old Minoan. This is an ancient Minoan village on Santorini that they've are obviously unearthed and are like putting together. You can see, I mean, you can see what they've done to protect, like to help with the sun and the shade and the elements and things. So you're kind of walking around, and it's guided. We don't get to walk all over, but still pretty fascinating nonetheless. If you don't take any of these optional tours, that's okay. You can still take. We'll get off the ship, and you'll have a free day in Santorini. If you want to get off, and basically how all of us are going to get off is going to be by tender boat. Okay. And that's like these boats here. So we're all going to be tendered in. So these smaller boats are going to come to the ship. We're all going to get on, and they're going to take us in. The people that are going to go on their tours, they're going to go on their boats, and the people that aren't going to go, that are going to have a free day, are going to go on their boats. The people that aren't going to go on on any of the optional tours and kind of have a free day, the tender boats are going to take you here, and this area here, and up in this village here. This is Fira, okay. And forgive me, I'm probably butchering the enunciation of this town, but forgive me. But when we come in, we're gonna be tendered in here. And we have a choice to get to the top. We can take a donkey or we can ride a gondola. And you can one or the other. Last time I was there, it was like €6. And you could either ride the donkey or take the gondola. And they were both €6. Um, so anyway, it's not it's nominal fee, and then it takes you up, and then you have basically that day in Santorini and in Fira to relax, enjoy. This has an amazing. I mean, I love. I For sunsets in Fira, I would highly recommend. The sunset sets right over the water. I mean, you can't beat it. There's a lot of restaurants, a lot of great stores, shops. There's certainly lots to do there. Um, you know, I mean, I like to people watch. You just kind of sit down and take it all in, and it's great for that too. Anyway, if you want to spend and kind of slow it down, this is our last stop of the cruise before we go back to, before we go back to Athens. And so if you just want to kind of go at your own pace, this would be a good time to do it. Um, really, really, because that night, we're going to set sail. We're going to leave Santorini and we're going to set sail back to Athens. And we're going to arrive and disembark the ship in Piraeus, which is, like I said, the port city just outside of Athens. And then from there, we're going to be taken on a tour to Epidaurus and the Minoan, or excuse me, and a Mycenae. And anyway, it's a full day of touring, and we're going to start here with the theater of Epidaurus. The most interesting thing about this guy was reciting. It doesn't makes no difference to you, but he was like reciting Shakespeare, like projecting his voice. He was our guide. But the cool thing about it was he was trying to show us that the acoustics in this theater, and you could hear. I was up here on this middle, up here on this middle row up there. You can see my cursor, and you could hear this guy everywhere. In fact, our tour guides were explaining that the architects and the designers of the Sydney Opera House came came to Epidaurus to study and kind of learn about acoustics, and then try to apply those same principles to their Sydney Opera House. And it's, I mean, kind of impressive that, God, the Greeks had it right. It's third century BC or something. We're still trying to learn from them, and it's incredible. The and the first, I think, like 16 or 15 rows, something like that. Your guides will tell you they're all original. It's original stuff, from the third century BC. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. We leave Epidaurus, and literally right down the road, I don't know if I remember right, maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe tops, is going to be the Mycenaean ruins. And this is where, well, the Mycenae was one of the largest, most powerful Greek city-states in ancient Greece. They were like, they were more powerful than Sparta, Athens. They told Athens what to do for a certain time. They were the guys. They were the big kids on the block. To come into there, this is a really famous kind of entry point into their city, but it's the Lion's Gate. Um, it's really incredible actually when you see it. But and this was a large gate, and you can see how the walls were much taller, but it's still, even today in modern times, it's still really impressive. And the city, how it's positioned is, you can see the top is what the city was like in ancient times. And you have on this one side a large, like, ravine that's hundreds of feet down. And so you have like natural protection on this one side of the city. And then it's kind of built up, you'll notice, built up onto a hill that overlooks a large plain. And it's so interesting to just to get in the minds of the people of the day and to understand why they did things the way they did. And this is now the ancient site that they've now unearthed, here being the Lions, the Lions Gate, everything else. It's really incredible. King Agamemnon was one of the great kings of Mycenae, of really the Mycenaean people. And he was the guy that got all of the Greek city states to go to war with Troy. And literally, like the Trojan War, he was like the catalyst for that. And anyway, this guy, if we watch the movie Troy, with Orlando Bloom and Brad Pitt and all those guys, um, King Agamemnon is portrayed as not such a nice guy, but he's in that movie, and this is his tomb. And part of the tour is we're going to leave Mycenae and we're going to go to King Agamemnon's tomb. And it's, it's really incredible. You're, we're not going to go into his actual burial chamber, okay? We're going to walk in, and this is kind of considered a beehive tomb, and then his burial chamber is kind of off to the, well, it's not in that picture below, but it's off to the left. And and the tour doesn't take us in there. We aren't permitted for that. But they do allow us to come inside and really kind of, just when you walk by these stones, you can't help but they're monolith. They're huge. Bigger than bigger than your Suburban, you know? It's and anyway, and they have these huge stones kind of piled up. It's really fascinating. And that's going to be also part of this tour today. In addition to that, we're going to go kind of on our way because we cross over it to go back to Athens. We're going to stop at the Corinth Canal. And the Corinth Canal, this is not our cruise ship. We don't sail through the Corinth Canal, but we'll learn about it. It's really fascinating. It's kind of a modern marvel. Um, we'll pass over it, but they carved this out to improve shipping efficiencies, and there had been a business here for thousands of years, literally people unloading ships on one side and loading them up on the other so sailors can continue on and and again improve shipping times. It's anyway, long history, you'll learn all about it, but it's not a long stop, probably around 30 minutes or so. Just take some pictures, we'll learn about it, and we'll keep on going back to Athens. From this point, Athens is only, gosh, maybe about 30 minutes or so. Come back into the city. And what's really unique about Athens, and you're going to, I think, notice this right away, Athens has this building code that doesn't allow any buildings, hotels, office buildings, it doesn't matter. Buildings cannot be taller than, I believe it's 8 stories or 9 stories, something like that. And it's so there's no way that at any point in the city, you'll always have an uninstructed view of the Parthenon. It's always will be the highest spot in the city. So I think that's really cool. And at night they light it up and you just look up and you can't miss it. It's amazing. There's no buildings blocking your view from it. And anyway, we're gonna have one more night in Athens. Kind of that's gonna be our last evening. Um, Wake up the next morning and and off we go back to back home. And and again, all in all, we're a it's again it's a 10-day or really 8-night program. And again, we have 3 nights in Athens on the front end, then we have that 4-night cruise, and then one more night in Athens on the return before we fly home that following day. Let me I know I've been talking a lot. Are there any questions for me while I bring up another piece here? Don't all go at once now. Okay. Well, in that case, we'll just talk about the brochure. Um, this obviously, the brochure here kind of talks about what it is, what we just talked about. You've got 17 meals, which is essentially breakfast every day. You've got dinner included in Athens, kind of the dinner show that I'll call it. And then while you're on the cruise ship, you've got breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's kind of, I think, kind of standard, as it is for the for the cruise line. But when you get back, excuse me, that next morning breakfast, and then that evening you'll have to think about dinner. Really, your average cost for food, um, for lunches and for dinners. For lunches, I think are pretty comparable to here. Depending on what you get, drinks and everything else, we all know how much that can fluctuate. But just on average, I think you can expect to spend anywhere from like 8 to, on the high end, like 15 euros for lunch. And that's without drinks. And then of course, for dinner, anywhere from like probably 15 to, on the high end, like 25 euros, depending on, again, what kind of dish you decide to order. Not terribly expensive. Some things, just to keep in mind, and then we'll talk about all the nitty gritty. But some things I just wanted to mention, like when you are sitting down at a restaurant, though the tipping and things are not going to be the same as what we're used to here. So don't think that you need to tip 20, 15% on top of the bill that you get. um, they're going to know you're Americans, and they're going to would love for you to do that. Right? But you don't need to. It's certainly not needed. Um, just think about, it's, you can pay whatever it is that they have. And what's nice is you can leave a couple of euros for them, just if you want, as kind of a thank you, but certainly not any kind of percentage. And lastly, really important too, especially for the women, always make sure you have some change in your pocket. Okay. Um, like when I say change, like some euros, like some coins of euros. It doesn't have to be full euros. It can be 50 cents or 40 or 20 or whatever. But the reason why is because if the urge strikes and you have to use the restroom, a lot of times public restrooms are going to cost money. And so you want to have a little bit of change in your pocket and not get, caught up when you need it most. Uh, so just, that said, getting money, you can get it at your local bank before you leave. You can get it at the ATMs when you're over there. The most expensive way is going to get it, at the actual airport itself. That's going to be really darn expensive, and it's probably doesn't make much sense. When you pay for things, or when you go to say or Yahoo Finance, or xe.com or something, these places that give you the exchange rates of world currencies, those numbers that they're giving you are what our credit cards are paying, right? Or what our banks are moving money around at. We aren't paying those rates. And so, meaning we're paying a higher rate. So when you hear that saying about, hey, you get a better buying power with your credit cards, that's simply all they're referring to, is you're going to have your credit cards are going to move money around at a lower exchange rate than you have access to cash at. If the exchange rate says $1.07, and right now, last time I checked, it was like $1.08. If anybody has checked recently, tell me. Um, Meaning $1.08 bought you 1 euro, and and those euros are, well, you know, they go up and down, and to you obviously to the euros are just something you want to have if you can before you go, or getting over there from a banking institution, because if you get it again at the airports or those kiosks, it's always going to be more expensive, and it will be slightly more expensive when you get that cash at the bank than your credit cards are, but it may be worth it too. Just something to look into. Lastly, about that is there's a foreign currency transaction fee on a lot of credit cards. Just make sure about that. You don't want It's usually around 3%. You don't want that to come back and bite you if you didn't know about it. Um, the 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 online reservation form here is, if you have questions, like I talked about in optional tours, and for like those volcanoes and Delphi, for example, stuff like that. Here you have a large description of those tours here in the optional tours. And as you scroll down, you can see the price, the per person price, and things like that. So this this form here you can access simply by clicking here on the click here to book now. And this is going to bring you to to this website here that's going to give you all of this other information about optional tour prices and everything else. And of course, additional information about those tours. One other thing that I just want to mention really quick too, it's because we get a lot of questions about it. It's traveler's insurance. Um, there is a complimentary traveler's insurance package that is included. And that package is what's really considered to be a post-departure coverage. So I would call it like a basic coverage. This is not going to cover you if you had to cancel your trip. Okay. If you had to cancel your trip, this complimentary policy isn't going to give you any money back. What this complimentary policy does do is give you, and you can see here, but it gives you like emergency evacuation reparation up to 150 grand. If you get really hurt, need to be medevaced home, there's money for that. God forbid you really get hurt and have to, dental or medical, there's 25 of that. There's even all the way down to like if your bag gets lost, and if you need, your bag gets lost and you need to buy yourself a new wardrobe, you can do that and you have insurance for that. All of that's complimentary. Let me just side note, if that ever happens to you, which I hope it doesn't, like say your bag gets lost, just keep receipts on everything you buy, and those receipts, we can help you file that claim when you return, and you can get reimbursed from that. But again, that's if you had to cancel, you aren't going to get any reimbursement. And there are additional, I'm going to click on it here, additional insurance policies that you can purchase. And it's these policies are, whoops, here we go. Sorry about that. Um, they are they're really up to you. And what I mean by that is you can buy a cancel for any reason policy, which covers you in depth. And if you cancel literally for any reason at all, you can cancel and you'll get your money back. If those that don't, think you need that kind of assurance, and the only reason you're going to cancel is for a big reason, like, you lose your job or somebody gets sick or dies or something like that, and you can't go, then that policy is what I would consider more of a traditional policy, and that's going to be far less expensive. We offer both. Um, and you can purchase it from us. But honestly, folks, you guys can purchase traveler's insurance anywhere you like. It doesn't need to be from us. You can go to your local travel agency. You can go to your local provider, your insurance guy. whatever you like. I mean, I'm a big believer in it just personally. You certainly don't need to buy it from us, but I would encourage you to have traveler's insurance. You just, in this day and age, you just never know. Um, but again, in my humble opinion, I I would advise against the cancel for any reason policy. I feel like the premiums are just too expensive to warrant, what you're going to need. So that that being said, uh, there's the and again you have your two different policies there. Um, if you'd like, you've got your inside, which is included, your outside cabin, and then of course your balcony as well. Inside cabin is going to be with essentially for those that don't know, just so we're abundantly clear. Inside cabins are essentially you're going to have a cabin with no windows. You're going to have your own bathroom, and it's going to be great. Because really we aren't going to be spending a lot of time in there. At least I didn't. The outside cabins, you're going to have a window. Those windows typically, and you should expect them not to be able to open. They're usually picture size, and it's you can look out. Then of course the balcony, we all know what that is. Um, and then those are just on the nature of what cabin it is going to determine on which deck you're on. But that's essentially you certainly have your choice and of anyone you like there. Let me let me bring up this because this I think is would be helpful too for for folks. And you're gonna be able to get this information as well. So you'll have this to skim through as well. Um, but this is a document. And what I want to talk about here is basically what the cruise is, specifically the cruise, the inclusions, the itinerary, all that good stuff. We've got this cruise again. We're gonna have 4 nights cruising around the Aegean, and we're gonna be on the Celestial Discovery. Within that, we're gonna have, of course, like I said, meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. During those meals, probably don't want complimentary red wine for breakfast, but maybe for lunch and dinner. But all of you can see during your meals, you've got, really kind of whatever you'd like, basically. And you've got different restaurants to eat at as well. There are and folks can choose to eat at different restaurants. There is a specialty restaurant as well that's I think for steaks and things that you would have to make reservations for. Um, but if you want for those that want to kind of keep it simple basically and make it easy, uh, on the times that during the times that meals aren't being served, which and usually meal times they give it like a 2 hour window typically. Um, but for those times that meals aren't being served, you have different drink packages. And you've got your, just a simple hydration, refresh, caffeinator, sweet treat. And then you've got all the way to sky's the limit or, sky high. And this is, of course, the alcoholic drinks or drink packages. Basically, what it is, when you do the math, you're looking at about, at a $7 drink value. I think we figured it's about 5 or 6 drinks per day per person, is what it kind of breaks down to be. If you plan to, hey, we're going to be, after dinner, we plan to be hanging out every night till late and drinking beer and chit chatting. Well, then maybe this would make sense for you. But it's certainly available, and you can do that either beforehand or you can do that, meaning beforehand, before you leave, or you can sign up for this while you're on board the ship as well. And again, these are all different drink packages for all different kinds of needs and wants basically. If you want tea or coffee or what have you. There is a spa.
Chris,
Yes, ma'am.
the package is the same price on the ship as they are now.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, they are. Yeah. Um, there's also, I mean, and this is just so you guys kind of know what's out there, but there's spa treatments on the ship. Um, there's a Celestial Plus experience if you want to. Basically, this is going to give you all the best of everything. You're going to have Wi-Fi access, you know, everything else. The thing that I'll mention, and this is just in my humble opinion, their Wi-Fi signal, God bless them, it wasn't very good. Okay. It it's especially when you're sailing, it's a satellite hookup and it's just you just aren't getting if you have to do any kind of like, you need to watch a video or if you have like some kind of important call, don't expect to like be able to sign in and this to work great. But if you need to like post a couple of pictures or look at an email, it might be fine. Um, but Wi-Fi is available for everybody. It's like an €8 per hour cost. What I found, I did it twice and I found that it worked better while we were in port. Like if you need to do it, you can do it while we're in port. And then, but with that said as well, my cell phone, as long as you have the international roaming plan on your phone is going to work in, I mean, my phone worked in everywhere but Turkey. Like, so we went to all the islands. It didn't work for that time that we were in Turkey, but um, all the Greek islands that we visited, I had service while we were in port. So if maybe you don't need, I guess my point is maybe you don't need Wi-Fi on the ship if you can do what you need to do while you're in port from your phone. So just wanted to point that out. And then in addition, here's the port schedule. This is kind of what we're doing when we're doing it, and we've got of course, we're leaving Athens, coming into Mykonos, and we have Kusadasi, like I said, Turkey. So, want to give you guys just the ability at least to kind of take a look at that, see those times. This document, don't feel like you need to rush or write all this down. We're going to share this with you as well. But I wanted you all to see it. Are there? I know that I've gone through a whole bunch of stuff right now, and I mean, I'm certainly available. I can give you my email address and my phone number if y'all want to reach out to me if you don't have questions right now. But if you do, I'm here. Are there any questions from folks? I couldn't have done that good of a job. Well, if you all have any questions or here, let me bring up our brochure here. So again, um, the brochure basically, if for any of you that want to sign up, and it's okay after June 30th, it's all good because we still got until really September, really probably late September. And if you sign up before the 27th of September, we've got a lot of time. But basically, what that's going to do is lock you into that 42.49 price. And all that's needed to lock you into that is a $450 deposit. So what'll happen is you would make a $450 deposit, and that's going to lock you in, kind of qualify you, so to speak, for this. There's no other uh, tricks or qualifications or things necessary that you need to do. Um, and just one more thing, we encourage everybody to make their payments with credit cards, particularly online. And I would check, particularly if you have multiple credit cards, check with your credit cards and see if any of them have a built-in traveler's insurance policy. Many of them do. Not all, but a lot do. And if you sign up, and basically what happens is those uh, credit cards, whenever you make travel related purchases with those cards, there's like this blanket umbrella insurance that's applicable for any kind of travel related services that you buy. And my point is, it might be a way with the complementary policy that we provide and with the coverage that you may be able to get from your credit card, you may not be able or you may not need to purchase any additional insurance. You may be good just as it stands. So I mean obviously I can't promise that, but it's just something to at least, think about and consider. It could save you a little bit of money.
I think Jason had asked a question about how much money you thought we needed in each port. Is that what?
Oh, oh, thank you, Jason. Yes, I just saw that. Um, well, gosh, that's a loaded question.
How many
uh,
trips are you going to buy your wife, Jason?
right, exactly. Oh boy. No, really, I mean, the nice thing is the tours, really you're pretty busy. You're busy during that, and you aren't really having an opportunity to spend money because you're in these a lot of time archaeological sites. Um, and but what's really nice and what you want to have is some cash because it's nice to go in, particularly Turkey. Turkey loves they love euros, but they love American money. They love American money. And they do, you're going to go to this. I mean, it's incredible. You're going to see these rugs that are like silk. I mean, some are silk. It's amazing. And some of these rugs will be $50,000, and you're like, excuse me? You're like, what? No, thank you. I need to just step back and make sure I don't step on anything. Um, but I mean, last time I was there, we had the group that I was with. They weren't people like from Edelman, but just folks that were on the ship. Boy, they were all buying rugs and bringing them back. They weren't super, $50,000, but all of that's done in American money. So when we're in Turkey, they all of you can use transactions all in American money. Before Ephesus, for example, before we walk into the ancient city, oftentimes, at least one of the times that I was there, not every time, but one of the times I was there, there was a large kind of shopping area that you would go to before. And that it was actually really cool. We got a lot of like these Turkish dishes that were all decorated really neat. And I mean, I still have them on display in my house. But those were all things that we were done just kind of on the fly with cash, right? So it's always good to have a little bit of cash on you. And particularly in Turkey, they're fine with American money. They're good with that. Um, but if you have euros, they'll take that too. That's fine. But if you did make a big transaction like to purchase a rug or anything, all of that would be done in US dollars. So there wouldn't be any kind of conversion ratio or anything like that to worry about.
Jason, will there be a lot of tips that they'll need to have for tour guides on this trip?
Uh, the Yes and no. So there's a tour guide that's or a tour manager that's with them every day. And they meet them at the airport and they're actually going to be on the cruise ship with you as well. They're literally with you every day. And and that person we usually suggest anywhere from like 7 to 10 euros per day. Just whatever you think but that's kind of the suggested amount, kind of that spread. And you can give a little more, a little less. And that's for your tour manager. Then there are going to be times like, for example, when we're on these cruise ships and we take the tour of Ephesus, for example, there's going to be a local guide there. And what we generally tell folks is you can tip really whatever you feel is customary, but anywhere from like €1 to €2 is, would be completely acceptable. Um, I still remember our guide in Ephesus. I mean, this guy, like, his name was George, and he made an impact. And I anyway, they really work for their money. You know what I mean? So they're it's that's really where they make their money, is going to be on tips. So they're going to try to really charm you and you know do whatever they can. You're the rich American traveling through their country, and that's how it's perceived in their eyes. And you're like, man, I can barely afford to be here. I'm just happy to be here, you know? So it's I don't know. I hope that helps, but
So then our driver, we have to tip our driver.
well, you're gonna have, yeah, you're gonna have different drivers
Okay.
at different times. And um I don't, Deb, honestly, I don't know. In fact, I would don't think you would have the same driver even while you're in Athens. So the bus driver, you might think about that. That's again €1 to €2 a day, but that would be again up to the individual. And again, your bus driver more than likely is going to be there one day. Um, I could be wrong about that, but more than likely that is the bus driver is going to be changing out, and you're going to have the same tour manager every day.
Um, I can't remember, but did you say we have a farewell dinner in Athens before we leave? Is there a farewell dinner this trip?
No, there's not. You're gonna be in Athens, and we're gonna here. Let me scroll down. I just before I misspeak. No, ma'am. So day 9. So so we'll have basically breakfast, and then we'll eat lunch on tour, and then that evening when we come back to Athens, there'll be dinner on our own. Is essentially how it is right now. If you want, we can certainly plan a dinner, in Athens, if that's,
Well, what I was
excuse
gonna
me,
say
if
is
that's something that folks want to
typically,
do.
like the tour manager that's gonna be with us every day, typically we like pass a gift bag around and everybody puts their tips in and we present it to them as a group, the final day. So maybe at lunch, if we're all eating lunch together, we can present at that time. So maybe at breakfast, we can gather that money, and so we'll decide that on the trip, but kind of keep in the back of your mind that that's what we'll do for that tour guide. You don't have to give them money every day. Just set some
Right.
money aside in your luggage or in your room. And then at the end of the trip, on that final day when we're out touring, at breakfast, I'll go around and I'll gather the money from everybody and then give everybody the last opportunity while we're out touring to put money in, and then we'll give it to them at lunch. It just makes it easier, and then you can put in what you want, and it's just nice
Yeah.
to thank them all as a group.
The your tour guides and your tour managers, I mean, I can't obviously, I mean, I'm going to speak for them, but only because I've been there 3 times now, and every experience of mine with our tour guides and our tour managers have just been, top notch. Um, they loved them. Our people loved them, I mean. And I mean, I'm really confident that, you guys are going to be in really good hands when you're over there. Um, the probably the most important thing when we first land in Athens is everybody's going to be given and this will all come about 30 days before departure, but you'll all be given a name tag. And when we come through the airport there in Athens, it's really important for everybody to wear those name tags because our tour manager is going to be looking for folks with those name tags so we can gather everybody up and get them loaded onto the bus as quickly as possible, try to get out of that airport. Um, and really after that, I know wearing those name tags aren't fun because it just screams tourist, right? And I get it. And so, but that's really the most important time to wear those name tags is then. After that, you can talk with your guide and hey, I'll leave it to you, but that's really the time that if you wear your name tags at all, that's when you want to wear it. Are there any other questions or comments?
Right now, I think we're at 52 people going on the trip, so we have a nice sized group. Jason, do you know how many people you have? Zero. You better get busy.
It really is a lot of fun and this trip just my favorite thing about it is that you get a little bit of both. You get a little bit of taste of the mainland, Athens, of course, and Mycenae and all those other things. But then you also get the islands, and you even get a little bit of Turkey, and you get to go over there and see Ephesus. It has it it checks a lot of boxes. The one thing that I think, at least my takeaway every time I go, is it's never enough time. You're there and gosh, I wish I had more time there. And it's like, and that's how we're gonna feel. And it's just, I wish it was 30 days long, but it has to be 10. So, but it's a wonderful trip. We get to see a whole bunch of good stuff. And if if anyone has questions that come to them later or down the road, I'm happy to give you my email right now, or you can call me directly. And of course, I'll do whatever I can for you. My for those that want it, my email address is my first initial and my last name. So as it kind of appears on the screen there. So C Bruff, CBrough, and then that would be at edelmandiscoveries.com. And that's ADELMAN and then discoveries.com. And then my direct line is 949 253 9361. And I know I'm not taking anything away from Deb or Jason. They do a better job than I do. But if you need questions or if you have anything, feel free, reach out to me directly. And like I said, I'll do whatever I can.
Or reach out to me. That's fine.
Going
Okay.
once, going twice.
We have another meeting scheduled in September. Um, do we still think we need to have that one? If we have this one taped? Now that we
I
can.
I mean I would love to, but it's
Okay.
completely up to you, Deb. Whatever you want to do.
Well, Jason may have some new people and I may have some new ones. There's still some thinking about it. So we'll keep
Okay.
it scheduled. If we find that we don't need it, well, we can always cancel it, but it's September 16th at 5:15.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Well, thank you all. And like I said, this information, these kind of documents that we went through, they're going to be all available to you as well.
Okay. And Chris is going to send this taped recorded presentation to me and to Jason, and we'll send it out and share it.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
we'll send the documents, the drink packages and all that information out as well. And we'll see what everybody decides they want to do. So
Okay, wonderful. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. And like I said, I'm here. So
thank you. Thanks, Chris.
bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.